The first step is to remove the steering wheel. I'll put a link to it above, but essentially you want to disconnect the battery, then remove the airbag safely with a flathead screwdriver, pop out the connections, and then remove the 16mm bolt and pull the steering wheel straight off. Step 2 is to prep your steering wheel. Clean the current leather, lay out your steering wheel cover, get the lay of the land. I also found it very useful to remove the front face and steering wheel buttons. Step 3 is probably the most important step. In this part, you want to line up and work the cover on slowly without removing the tape strips. The goal here is to put each of the features of the steering wheel in the correct spot. It's very difficult to spin the cover later, so you want to get it as close as possible. This will also make stitching, especially your corners, much easier. Again, do not remove the tape in case you need to make slight alterations once you get it completely on there. I found it very tight, and so I used this method to grab it in my fingertips and kind of pull it on, roll it with my palm. Um, you use whatever method works for you, but I found that that was the best for me. Once you have it mostly where you want it, go ahead and just double check that the features are exactly where they're supposed to be in the steering wheel where you hold on either side and the bottom stems. Next, prepare to sew. I used the supplied string, started with about a 3-foot section, and knotted both ends. I chose to start at the bottom of the steering wheel because it's not visible to the naked eye. So to make a knot, I had to look this up on someone else's YouTube video. But you basically roll it around your finger and then pull it, and it makes a knot, and then you can cut off any excess. Again, I did that on both sides. Once you have a good knot on both sides and it's tight and it's not going to pull through, go ahead and figure out where you're going to start. Again, I started on the bottom stems of the steering wheel on the back side because I knew that nobody would see it. It was probably a good place to start, although a little bit difficult because there are a couple curves, but for the most part, pretty reasonable. The next step is to start stitching. Be forewarned, this is a very time-consuming process. It probably took me 4-ish hours. You want to remove about 6 inches of tape in the direction that you're going, stick it down, and then go ahead and stitch. I went under from one loop to the next. I've included a couple lessons learned for each different step along the way if you keep watching. If this is helpful for you, please like or subscribe. When starting or restarting, if you run out of string, it's useful to start somewhere that's not visible or that there's a seam in case you have any imperfections. Start on the back side of the leather and push through an existing hole so you don't rip or tear it, like such. And this also will kind of catch your knot on the back side. So if it's on the seam, you won't be able to tell. But then you can hide it like that. And then as you're stitching, no one really knows that you started or stopped there. You can just keep on stitching and no one is the wiser. The next tip is for curves. Obviously, as you stitch the curve, there will be more loops on the outside than the inside. So what's going to happen here to make it look clean is you're going to go through one of the inside loops a couple of times. So for instance here, the outside loop, all 3 of those loops go through the same red loop there. Doing this allows you to essentially pull in multiple directions, making a nice tight fit. And the last tip is ending. Try to end at natural points like seams or at the actual end of the leather, which will help you hide it. And when you go ahead and end it, what you want to do is create a loop, preferably through the leather, and then push your needle through the loop that you've created. The more times you do this, the stronger and bigger the knot will be, and the more effective and less likely it is to come apart. After I've made a knot, I did put a little bit of super glue on it so that it wouldn't come off. Again, I want to push through the leather, and then I've made a little loop here, and I want to pull my needle through this loop and do that repeatedly. After you've done that a couple times, go ahead and take scissors, cut as close as possible to the knot that you've created. Again, I dabbed a little super glue on to make sure that it didn't go anywhere, and you're good to go to the next part. Once you're done, put the steering wheel back on and enjoy your refreshed steering wheel. This is probably one of my favorite cheaper mods. I think it turned out really nicely. It did require quite a bit of patience though. So best of luck in your own endeavors. Here is a picture of my steering wheel before and after.